This Impact Wrestling review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and TNA will apologize for signing Brodus Clay by having Kaylee Ray win British Boot Camp 2. I suppose you're all wondering where my Bound for Glory review is. And the truth of the matter is that I didn't watch Bound for Glory. I looked at the card, and I had almost no interest in it, certainly not enough to buy it. I mean, what matches did we have here? There was a tag team match with 4 Wrestle 1 guys, which I didn't care about. If I want to see a Wrestle 1 match, I'll buy a Wrestle 1 show. Yeah, then we had Manic versus a Wrestle 1 guy in a one-off match with no story and no build-up. MVP versus a Wrestle 1 guy in a one-off match with no story and no build-up. EC3 versus a Wrestle 1 guy in a one-off match with no story and no build-up. We had Havoc versus Velvet Sky for some reason. You figure that one out. Are you seeing a pattern here? This was a one-night-only pay-per-view at a normal pay-per-view price. Financially, I just couldn't justify this one. I don't have the money right now to spend on a show that I don't think is going to be worth it. All due respect to them, but if TNA think I'm gonna pay $50 for Team 3D versus Abyss and Tommy Dreamer in a one-off match with no story and no build-up, they need to think harder. And there's my thoughts on Bound for Glory. It wasn't a priority to TNA, so why should it be a priority to me? I didn't order it, I didn't watch it, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. So let's move on to Impact, shall we? Normally, after what's supposed to be your biggest show of the year, you see a bit of change in the product. New storylines, new directions being taken creatively, blah blah blah. Not so in this case. This just felt like more of the same. The pay-per-view had virtually no impact on the product, which says a lot about how inconsequential BFG was in the grand scheme of things, unfortunately. We spend our opening segment setting up another #1 contenders match, which I still think is them drawing out something that doesn't need to be drawn out. Why not just have Rude win the #1 contendership last week? They're doing everything they can to extend this and pad the story out. The problem is, there isn't a lot of story to pad here. It could all be done quite easily in less time than they're taking, so big chunks of this angle end up feeling like a bunch of stalling.
Oh, you were not aware of this?
And of course they had that tease of Angle versus Lashley, and if you were excited by that, good for you. I wasn't. I doubt that match will ever happen, to be honest with you. Angle's probably leaving soon, and even if he wasn't, it's still a crapshoot. They were teasing Angle versus Aries a few months ago, which was a hell of a lot more interesting than Angle Lashley, and then they dropped it. What makes you think this'll be any different? Then we had our Knockouts match, pitting our new monster heel Knockout Havoc against Madison Rayne, another heel that nobody cares about. Like I said last week, I thought this match was a dumb idea. At least put Havoc in the ring with someone she can get some heat off of. Maybe a babyface. That might have worked a little better. Just saying. The match was just okay. I wasn't really impressed. I didn't see any real chemistry between them, and I thought Havoc should have won a lot more quickly and a lot more easily than she did. Why on earth are you still protecting Madison Rayne so much? Her being so competitive in this match was ridiculous. You can push Madison until doomsday, but she's never going to be believable as a top knockout. Havoc can be. So just let her steamroll this chick like a monster heel should, and get her an opponent that's actually interesting.
Oh, my brother! Testify!
Magnus got in Matt Hardy's face backstage for some reason. They have a match. It's pretty decent. Had a sick bump with that powerbomb on the ring apron, oh my god. And then Matt won. Okay. Was there anything else to this? Didn't seem like it. The Hardys versus Magnus and Bram could be a fun feud, and it would be a good way to establish those guys, because TNA need a credible heel tag team. God knows the bromance don't count. Those chucklehead jobbers are at the bottom of the ladder with Panda and Snow Cone for crying out loud. So I'd be all in favor of a feud between these two teams, but it doesn't look like that's where this is going because Bram is doing something else right now. So, was there a point to this match other than just filling time on the card? I'd like to think there was, but with the way this show has been written lately, I'm skeptical. They did the bromance and the beautiful people versus the menagerie again. I'm glad the menagerie's wacky antics have been toned down, their matches are better for it, but I don't know why in the world this is still going on. I have no clue what they're feuding about. I don't even know if the writers do at this point. I like Crazy Steve, I like Rebel, but I couldn't care less about the rest of these people. So I was happy to see Crazy Steve get the pin. I think he's found a nice balance between the clown stuff and the wrestling, and his act is working for me now. And Rebel? I think she has potential, I really do. She's a natural in front of the crowd, seems charismatic and athletic. The problem is, as talented as she might be, she's greener than grass right now, and it shows. And I just don't think they should be putting her in the ring yet. I worry that she's going to get injured again due to inexperience. She should be polishing her skills in OVW, not wrestling on TV. That's my opinion anyway.
Thank you for your irrelevant opinion.
So EC3 is looking for a bodyguard since he fired Rockstar Spud. And for reasons that elude me, TNA decided to fill this spot with, of all people, Brodus Clay. Really? Out of everyone that was available to you? Brodus Clay? Wow. No offense, TNA. I know that EC3 and Bram turned out to be diamonds in the rough that WWE were stupid to get rid of. But if you were going for the hat trick, I really don't think this was the guy to do it with.
This alleged superstar is an unworthy opponent.
Honest question here, TNA. What was it exactly about his oh-so-memorable run as the Funkasaurus that made you think this was a guy you needed? What raw potential did you think he displayed during that time? I'd like to know this. And don't try to defend him to me in the comments, okay? I never thought this guy was any good. Quite frankly, him being in the same ring as EC3 is a grievous insult to wrestling's greatest hero. I'm hoping this is just a Zeke Snitsky situation where he'll be gone in a couple weeks. But if the decision to bring in Tyrus is meant to be a permanent thing, I gotta say, not a fan.
You have no idea what the right decision would be.
Then it got kind of weird for a minute. Devon, of all people, challenges EC3, but then Bram takes him out.
Surprise, motherfucker.
I don't know what the hell was going on there, but I'll say one thing for it. It was surprising. And this show could use more surprises these days. I didn't see it coming, it felt unpredictable, and by virtue of that alone, I was kind of intrigued by it. You know what? Let's see where this goes. Then we had our main event, a 4-way elimination match for the #1 contendership, which I had no idea was an elimination match until Hardy and EY got pinned. They could have done more to get that across. Really good match. A terrific main event. But the winner was never in doubt for a second. You knew Bobby Roode was going to win this. The match was just a formality they had to get out of the way, so there was no real suspense or drama in this situation. That's the problem you run into when you do these really simple, basic angles and stretch them out longer than they should be. Everything starts to feel very predictable and flat and just not dynamic at all. The match was great, but they didn't do anything to make the story interesting. Roode wins, like everyone knew he would, and the show ends. Couldn't they have at least had Lashley come out afterward and spear him or something? As good as the match was, the ending of the show just felt like it had no real punch to it. There's a real lack of creativity on iMPACT right now. I know things are up in the air until a new TV deal is announced, but it seems like the writers are using that as an excuse to not put much thought into the product and deliver a show that's just very one-dimensional. You're not going to grow your audience that way, or make them excited to see you on a new network if and when you land on one. You think about that, TNA. And the rest of you, come join me in the Comic Show post-show live stream Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern on my channel. Until then, peace out.